Welcome everyone to our Business Spotlight series, and today we are going to meet Jennifer Lea and hear a little bit about her and her business. And so thank you, Jennifer, for taking some time to commit to this and have a conversation with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. Well, let's start by just telling us a little bit about you and your business. Let's start there.
Yeah, thank you. So Jennifer Lea, founder and CEO of Envy, we are the first and only exterior home decor subscription company. So we create custom signs with modern house numbers, last names, or monograms. We do have an interior version for apartments and assisted living as well, but we mainly focus on the front porch space. People put these by a light on their front porch or by the garage door. They all feature a planter box, and we ship monthly and quarterly faux floral holiday and seasonal decor to make celebrating everything easy.
Beautiful. It sounds so inviting and welcoming, and sounds like it really fills a need out there for those of us that like to have our front porches ready and welcoming.
It's exactly what it does. And especially
Beautiful.
Women who are busy and don't have time to come up with the creative stuff or get to the store and do it themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, often what our viewers are interested in is a bit about your company. Let's start with the structure. And what does it look like? Are you the sole owner? Did you go into business with a partner? How did you set that up?
Yeah, no, I am a solo founder. I have a great team. We have a total of about 14 people who work in a combination of part-time and full-time and 1099s and all of the different ways that it comes together to make it happen every month. We really have two parts of our business. Half of it is manufacturing the one-time custom signs that we make for people, and the other half is fulfilling the monthly subscription boxes. So it's two different locations. It's two different groups of employees, sort of two different revenue models, but it works together beautifully.
Beautiful. So as you are the founder and the leader, if you will, of your organization, how many hours do you work a week? How do you spend your time? What gets your attention? What's your priority? How do you set that up?
Oh, great question, Linda. I work about 120 hours a week on average. I have held that pace consistently for the last 3 years. I started this company 2 years ago. I started another one, sort of in tandem with a home remodel, which was how this company came to be. So dividing my time is challenging, and in the startup world, it's ever changing what the priorities are. Revenue is always a top priority, and how do we build more subscribers? But you also have to ensure that you're delivering 5-star customer service, that you are leading a great team and building a culture. We are also, we've spent time on fundraising from an investment perspective. And then strategy into 2024 and beyond of how the big goals and big, hairy, audacious goals, as I would call them, that we're working towards and reaching. So it's never the same day twice. And most of the time, the best laid plans go awry. Like I never get my to-do list done, but I usually get 100 more things done on that day that I didn't have on the list, right? So it's just this perpetual roll with the punches. Definitely keep the priorities, the big rocks in view, and they always get done. It's just not in the order sometimes you want them to go.
So clearly flexibility is a part of it, having a plan B, C, and maybe even D. It sounds like that's a part of it. I'm wondering, what would be one thing that maybe you wish more people knew about your business, especially as a startup?
I don't know that it's particularly about my business. I just think in general, I wish I would have known how much courage it took to do this. It's grit, resilience, and belief that it will work in the way that you see it working someday, but it requires a lot of patience and a lot of overcoming various summits. It's never a one and done. It's like, okay, we've reached this summit, we can breathe for a short while, and now we're climbing to the next one. And as an entrepreneur, it's taking leap after leap after leap. It's not just, oh, great, I quit my 6-figure corporate job to start a company, so now the risk is done. No, it's this constant. It's every time you spend advertising dollars. It's every time you hire a new employee. It's every time you launch a new product. It's just this perpetual, I guess you get used to not jumping off of the high board every day.
Beautiful. You referenced working in the corporate world, and I grew up in that world as well. I'm just curious, what would be maybe one thing that you brought with you as a transferable skill set that you're holding on to, and maybe something that you needed to let go of, or maybe reframe a mindset around? Could you share some insight with that about your transition?
Yeah, I don't think that, again, there's not one thing. I managed law firms for 18 years as the executive director, and the biggest piece that of value is that I know how to run a $10 million company, even though my startup is not that yet, right? So there's a lot of people who have a great idea and start a company, but they don't know all of the intricacies that, quite frankly, I take for granted. I know how to read financials. I know all the rules around employment, hiring and firing, employee benefits, all of these things that I don't have to worry about. I don't have to learn. I have just been able to focus on building the company, which is what I had to figure out. Because I've always walked into a corporate, environment that has already been around for 50 or 100 years. There's already a culture there. There's already a product and a system in place. And when you're in a startup world, you're starting everything from scratch, from ground zero. Everything is new for the first time. You're literally building your culture. So I would say that that's been a huge part of it. But the other piece is working for lawyers for 18 years. I think I developed an amount of confidence that I also take for granted. I am good at reading and writing and communicating in all sorts of, whether it's oral or written forms, succinctly, communicating clearly what I need to say. It's just that skill has been honed and refined. If you've ever worked with lawyers, they edit and redline everything. It's never good enough. They're, just dictators about typos, and all of those pieces are so important, and you hear it growing up. You need to be able to have good communication skills, but what does that really mean? And I think that that has been a huge part of my background that has been transferred to business ownership and being successful as an entrepreneur.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I share that a bit. In fact, when my team asks me for my insights on something, I usually ask for clarity. Do you want me to look at the content? Because my eyes will go directly to that proofreading and catching those small little details, just because when you're trained that way, that's what you look for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm wondering about your marketing strategy, especially as a startup. What would you say as maybe a percentage or amount that you invest back into marketing, and what's been successful for you, or maybe what you've learned from things that you've tried that maybe weren't as successful?
Well, it's interesting. Most e-commerce companies spend 20 to 30% of their budget on marketing and advertising, and we have spent zero. We have about 400 customers across the country right now, and those have been organically built through being consistent with online presence of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, all of the places. And we have worked strategically with a few influencers that specialize in the home decor subscription space. I wanted to establish proof of concept, traction, social proof it before we started throwing dollars. Knowing that if we did all of those other things right, and the only piece left was to throw fuel on the fire, success was inevitable. And so we are investing over $100,000 in advertising over the course of the next 12 months, starting in January, and we're ready for the growth that is ahead. So it has been a lot of testing. In the startup world, it's fail as fast as you can.
Yeah.
It's figure out, the perfect product market fit and the language, and doing it over and over and over again. We've done a lot of craft fairs. We sell nothing at craft fairs, but what you get from the craft fairs that you can't get from online e-commerce sales is direct customer feedback, whether that's verbal or nonverbal. And that has been invaluable.
It's a gift, isn't it? When you can get that type of feedback so that you can tweak things and learn from them.
Yeah, it really is.
I like the language, test and measure. So as you invest in your marketing strategy this next year, and You test and measure what's going to work. How do you have that set up? Have you thought through the way you're going to grab information to inform you so that you can keep mid-course correcting and tweaking as you move forward?
Yeah, so there's so many different channels that you can spend time, money, energy testing and measuring, and you can't do everything all at once. So the 4 channels that we are testing initially are Facebook, Google. Um, I'm going to say Facebook and Google, Amazon. We're launching on Amazon, and a company called Advertise Purple, which is an affiliate brand management agency. We're doing that because we've already had success with affiliates, and this is just moving that to a larger scale. I think hiring, I started out my career actually in marketing, managing a $500,000 marketing budget for plastic surgeons when I was 15 or 20. I didn't know that that was a lot of money for a marketing budget at the time. Still a lot of money for a marketing budget.
Yeah.
But those were the pre-internet days. And I think even as good as I was then at marketing, I wouldn't be able then nor now to be an expert in everything. And I've really recognized that as an e-commerce owner the last 2 years, that I need to find that the environment changes so rapidly. You have to find a person who specializes in testing the creative, the copy, the content of ads specifically for Facebook. You need to have somebody specifically for shopping ads for Google versus their search ads on Google versus SEO on Google, right? Like all of these are so specialized. So I have identified the channels that I want to invest money in. I've identified the right people or companies to manage those. And I am overseeing the side of it to make sure that that's where we continue to move the levers up and down. Do they work as well as what we want them to? What are we turning up? What are we turning down? And then we'll add another 4 channels after we have thoroughly tested and measured and learned what's working and what's not working in those first 4.
Nice, nice. So set it up and then scale, leverage it after you've tested it. Beautiful. I'm curious about customer relationship management, the database and or the process that you use, and then do you have someone dedicated to customer relations specifically?
We have a team of us that all handle customer relations. I grew up in an old steakhouse with a Jewish owner who taught me when I was 4, the customer is always right. And I have followed that throughout my entire career, whether that customer is a lawyer that pays me, or whether that is a client, or whether that is one of our current subscribers. So I think it's so important. And we just live by that. How, do the right thing, treat people how you want to be treated. I hate the games that some of these companies that play online. We're transparent. It's not hard to cancel your subscription or pause it with us. Like you literally just send us an email or an online chat. Like we just want to make everybody happy and we want to earn your business. So we manage, there's a lot of technology and a lot of it behind the scenes, of course, on how we manage subscriptions. For example, we ship 6 to 8 different kits a month and our customers choose if they want modern or traditional. So we want to make sure that when a customer gets their subscription box, they are surprised and delighted. And in order to do that, we know a lot of information about them. We know what color their sign is. We know what shape it is. We know where it's placed out on their house. We often know what color their home is. We know whether they do like modern or traditional. We know age bracket ranges. So it helps us. We even ask things like religious preferences. What are you celebrating for? How do you celebrate the holidays in December, for example? Are you celebrating in a religious way with Christmas? Is it just kind of Santa and is it fun? Do you have another religion that you're recognizing, Diwali or Hanukkah, for example? And just so we learn a lot of this and then we keep that in the system. So when our customers get their box, it feels very curated. It should be exactly what they want. It's very high quality. I always say that I won't send anything out the door that I wouldn't put on my own front porch, regardless of what the style is. But my grandmother is 91. My mom is 67. I'm 45 and my kind of lead assistant production coordinator is 27. And so when I design kits, I test, that's our market. That's our first run of, does everybody like something in here? And it helps me gauge what our customers are going to love.
Beautiful, beautiful. As we think about lots of opportunity, find a need, fill a need, that's clearly what you've done here. And there's probably viewers watching this today wondering, how did you make that decision to go from probably a comfortable six-figure salary in a job and to, find this entrepreneurial spirit in you and to move in that direction and launch this? Talk a little bit about that discernment process. What was that like for you?
I think I need to write a book about it, Linda, because I need to think through it myself. And I think I transfer my thoughts into tangible, meaningful words for people in that process. And right now, it's still a lot in my head. I don't know how I've had the guts to do it. People have asked me that a lot. Where did this come from? I don't exactly know. I just know that I think I knew I was restless. When I master a skill, I get bored. And I have always told my employers, you get me for 5 years. And after that point, I think I know that I am not adding the value that I could do an organization because I've done it. I've learned it. I've made you as good as I can make you. And I am going to be my best in an environment where I'm learning. And the fun thing about this company and what I'm having the most fun with is learning how to build and scale a national brand. It's not about the money. It's like, this is like fun. And I know, truthfully, I'll be bored of it in 5 years. The goal is build, scale, sell, right? And so I went into that knowing what my tolerance is and where I'm best at. Maybe that means I don't sell, but I hire a CEO to run the company. There's a lot of different options, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me doing this in 8 years because I will have already been in my head, moved on to the next thing. Heck, I've already started 2 other companies in my head. But I think the more important part is, how did I get the guts to do this? And January of 2020, I left a marriage that I'd been in for 15 years. March of 2020, we all know what happened. I was a single mom with 2 kids, buying a house in the peak of COVID. With the real estate market, I remodeled the entire house myself. And then it was in April of 2021 that I came up with this idea. And I was truly just trying to solve my own problem. I wanted to update my house numbers, and I don't like wreaths because they're bulky and you have to store them and they get dirty and they scratch your front door. And I'm like, I want somebody to send me a simple decoration for my front porch that doesn't look stupid. And like, what can I put that in? And so that is really how Entry In became to be. And when I created it, I was like, there are millions of women who would love this. And it was an instant sort of God moment of like, this is a company. And then it was, okay, do you have the guts to do this? Do you even have the guts to tell anybody about this?
Mm-hmm.
And the first person I told was my mom, who is generally pretty pessimistic, pretty skeptical. Like, I was 99% sure she was going to say, you don't have time for this. What are you thinking? Right? You're still in a remodel. You're a single mom with 2 kids. Like, you run a law firm. Like, you don't have time for this. And what she said was, well, I'm retiring next month. I could help you. I actually think it's a good idea. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I did some market research and got some early affirmations on that I was onto something. And I didn't quit my full-time job until about 3 months after I launched the company. And I got advice from a coach who said, don't quit your job when you've replaced your income, quit your job when you know how to replace your income.
Right.
Referenced the 99% rule, if you're familiar with that. And so I decided that I knew that I needed to give it 100% of my time and attention and effort. And I have never been a play it small person. It was a go big or go home. And I thought, I've got this. Let's jump and see where it goes. And I did.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And, just hearing your story, definitely there's at least one book in there. And the other thing is, as we even think about what's next for you, you visualize things, right? So there's something out there in 5 years or whatever. And once you catch that entrepreneurial spirit, you can't help. I mean, you've got it, you've caught it. And you've got to do something with it. So I appreciate the energy. I appreciate the insight. Certainly appreciate you sharing your story and great nuggets of learning with anyone who's watching this video as well. And one last thing, maybe before we close, what would you say today is most inspiring to you, right? What is getting you up in the morning and giving you this energy? What is it?
It's a really interesting question. I'm a big believer in that you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and I'm very careful about who I choose to spend time with, and making sure that I'm constantly in a room full of people that are challenging me and that I'm aspiring towards. And that's it's hard to find. It's when you've got the big, hairy, audacious goals to try and find those like-minded people that are there, but I've done it very intentionally. I'm involved in several masterminds. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my own education over the course of, my lifetime. I value tremendously having coaches and mentors and people that hold you accountable and keep pushing, and quite frankly, believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And so that's what I would leave with.
Yeah, that's a gift. And I aligned in that spirit and very congruent myself, kept an executive coach and still do today as well. So how can others learn more about you or find your company? Let's leave them with that.
Thank you. Everything is online at entryenvy.com, and you can follow us wherever you're social at entry_envy. So we have lots of wonderful things in our store. We would love to have you be a member, and this makes a fabulous gift for particularly for hard to shop for people like moms, grandmas, in-laws who have everything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing with us today, and we look forward to checking it out.
Thanks so much, Linda. Have a
Okay.
great day.
Thank you.